Welcome to the 1 to 9 podcast for interesting insights and knowledge from animals and other beings within multidimensional realms. Welcome to another 1 to 9 podcast. I'm Karen.
And I'm Diana.
Today we're going
Diane.
Today we're going to be talking to bacteria. Bacteria are little animals. As far as I know, the very first animals to exist, and they're everywhere. And Diana's going to introduce the bacteria that want to talk to us first.
Yeah, and I think this is actually a very good sort of like extension of our very first podcast where we talked about viruses. This time we're not just going to be talking about bacteria, we're going to be talking to bacteria.
Whoa, talking to bacteria. I wonder if anyone's ever done that before.
I don't know. Maybe the bacteria can tell us. Well, anyway, the ones that are contacting us now, they seem to be the ones in our gut and the good gut bacteria, right? And so Karen, before we actually started this podcast, Karen had said something about, well, we should, create a bridge between the bacteria and humanity, right? And all of a sudden, they started actually building a bridge. So I saw this bacteria bridge in my head.
That's awesome, Diana.
So anyway, so I figured, yes, they do want to talk to us. They may not have that much to say, and they have said that the name for them that they call themselves is the world, because basically, what is their world? Their world is the inside of our gut.
So all the bacteria in our gut are called the world.
Yeah, I mean, they don't name themselves individually. They all work together. This is one big, it is big in terms of numbers, but I guess it's not big in terms of space. It's a big community.
So does this include the bacteria in our body too, like in our arms and legs and organs, or is it just the gut?
No, we're just, at the moment, the ones that call themselves the world, this is just the good gut bacteria.
Oh, the good gut bacteria.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. They don't want to have anything to do with the bad gut bacteria. Those are really, really nasty creatures. And, it's like, I don't think we even want to ask them if they would like to talk to us and the good bacteria. Yeah.
So does the good bacteria, when the good bacteria are living in our guts, there are no bad bacteria, right?
No, there are bad bacteria.
Oh, so there's both living together.
Both, yeah. I mean, they're constantly, the good bacteria is constantly trying to keep the bad bacteria out. They're waging a constant battle.
That's interesting. For years, I thought of the bacteria as armies. The good army and the bad army going at it.
Yeah.
And there were certain things that fed the good bacteria and there were certain things that fed the bad bacteria, and you could actually help them, like arming them with certain
good weapons.
Yeah, good weapons, like good food or good thoughts, or what is it that the good bacteria want to say? Let's just ask that. In our gut, the world as they know our gut, but the world they know as the world.
Yeah, right. What do they? Okay, this is the question. How to, in terms of weaponizing them, what do they need from us?
And do they want us to call it weapons or support?
No, I think they want us to call it weapons.
Okay, so
even though they're good bacteria, they're actually like really
in battle,
militant.
Okay,
it's like they've got to be on guard all the time.
So what are they? Man. What are they asking for?
They're asking you, not to eat any sugar.
What?
And not to eat any white flour. Not to eat any processed foods.
Oh my gosh!
It's like they don't like this stuff. It really kind of makes them weak.
Oh, it makes the good bacteria weak.
Yeah.
What does it do to the bad bacteria? Does it make them strong, or it just makes the good bacteria weak?
It's because, the bad bacteria. Well, no, I don't want to be talking to the bad bacteria. Right. The good bacteria also don't want to be talking to them. But if the good bacteria are weak, that means that they don't have enough strength and power to fend off the bad bacteria. Therefore, the bad bacteria grow in numbers. So the good bacteria want to keep on feeling strong and powerful.
So we heard what they don't want, but what do they want?
What do they want? They want fresh food. Fresh fruits and vegetables.
Fresh fruits and vegetables?
Yeah.
Cooked or uncooked?
Both. Both is good. And they want Ooh, they like dirt too.
Are they suggesting we eat dirt or dirty food?
Well, okay, not okay. They're clarifying this, right? They don't mean like dust or anything like that. They mean kind of like the earth that you could actually find on vegetables or fruits that are grown in or on the soil.
So I shouldn't have washed
Provided that, I mean, the soil has got bad things in it, like pesticides or whatever.
So I shouldn't have washed the potatoes that I baked today before I baked them?
If you know, they're saying no, you shouldn't wash them.
Interesting.
Yeah, they like that stuff, provided that there's poisons in them or toxins.
Provided it's healthy soil, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, does this apply to everybody, or are the gut bacteria specifically talking to you and me?
They're saying basically, gut bacteria are kind of the same. So they all have these same requirements.
So they're same in different cultures, different parts of the world. They're roughly the same?
Yeah, although this kind of maybe it just applies to us.
Us as Americans or you and me?
Maybe just you and me. Like I said, they call themselves the world. All they know is basically our bodies, right? So I'm asking them if they can communicate with other gut bacteria or other bacteria, period. Okay, they're saying they can communicate with the bad bacteria in that they kind of know where they are and what they're going to be doing. But that's a little bit easier because they're in the same body. And they have got sort of like a vague idea of what's happening with other bacteria and other bodies.
Because, the things you mentioned for them to not eat have been around since forever, pretty much. White flour, sugar.
Right.
What was the other one?
Processed food.
Oh, processed foods might not have been around since forever. But people have been eating wheat. So when you say white flour, you're talking about any flour that's been refined or wheat flour in particular? Is it the refining process that's the problem?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So if you refined your own flour...
I mean, bacteria need vitamins too. Mm-hmm. Vitamins and minerals and whatever.
Yeah, but they always enrich flour because they take all the vitamins out.
Exactly. But they don't put back, hard enough of what they've taken out,
Yeah.
They only put back a fraction of what they've taken out. So,
interesting.
Yeah, they're saying, well, we don't want to be malnourished. We want to be healthy.
What about fermented foods and things like that have...
Oh, they're jumping up and down.
Do they like it when people make their own fermented foods, or is any fermented food fine?
No, they like it when people do it properly.
So not vinegar-based fermented foods, but...
No, they're going, yuck, yuck. No, really, this is what they're doing. They're going, oh, yuck, yuck, yuck.
So real fermented sauerkraut, pickles, beets.
Yeah, they're jumping up and down again.
Kvases. What about kombucha? A lot of people do the kombucha.
Yeah, they like that too. Mm-hmm.
Oh, very interesting.
Okay, so the good bacteria, they're jumping for joy because they're hearing that we love eating all this stuff, fermented food, and the bad bacteria, they're turning up, they're running away from this stuff because if they eat it, they will just kind of like weaken and die. So they really hate it, but they want the good bacteria to eat it. So the good bacteria weaken and die. Therefore, the bad bacteria grow stronger.
Wait a minute. They want the good bacteria to eat the fermented foods?
No, hold on a minute. I'm getting confused now. No, I started thinking the bad bacteria want the good bacteria to eat processed foods and unhealthy food. Okay, we're talking about fermented foods.
All right, so let me just pause here for a second. Let's get back to this. So
let's clarify things.
So, are we talking about people in general, or just you and me at this point?
Well, okay. Well, the good bacteria seem to be the ones that were in us. It's like the world. However, when the bad bacteria piped in and started talking about how they don't like fermented foods, somehow, we had to make it so that they didn't come into the safe interview space, okay? They're outside of it. Okay. So they know more.
Oh.
Okay. It's not just you and me. It's not just bad bacteria in you and me. It's bad bacteria in other people also.
Okay, so I think we're talking about a twofold issue here. The bad bacteria like processed foods, refined foods, and sugars. They love that stuff. But they also want good bacteria to eat that because it weakens them. And the good bacteria want to eat more fruits and vegetables, cooked or raw, and
Fermented foods.
fermented foods of various kinds. And the bad bacteria, the good bacteria want the bad bacteria to eat that same stuff because it weakens the bad bacteria? Or does it actually make them less bad?
Ooh, that is a good question. No, okay, the bad bacteria cannot be turned into good bacteria
Okay.
by the foods that they are forced to eat. No.
It just weakens them.
Yeah. So,
Do they start dying then when they're weak?
well, dying in terms of the good bacteria can kind of like kill them off and kick them out.
Okay, so this is an ongoing battle in the gut between good bacteria and bad bacteria in pretty much everybody's gut.
Yeah, right.
And what do they feel? What does a good bacteria think of things like probiotic pills and enzymes?
Oh, they like them. They're not jumping up for joy like they were for the fermented foods, but they're still very happy when people take those things.
Okay. Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
So is there...
Here's another interesting thing. Okay, so the bad bacteria, they're actually kind of proud about this. They've devised ways to actually keep their bad bacteria populations healthy and growing by kind of like subtly influencing what people actually want to eat.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
sneaky.
It's very sneaky.
So they're affecting... That's like a gut-brain connection. So the bacteria in the brain, the bacteria in the gut are actually influencing the brain to make
people want to eat the kind of food that the bad gut bacteria need to actually.
So the processed foods, the sugars, the
Yeah.
refined foods.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
And they're saying,
So
"Oh,
people
yeah."
are like zombies. They just listen to these bad bacteria.
No, it's not a question of people listening. I mean, they're not really conscious of this, right? It's very subtle, but somehow it's like the bad bacteria have got the system where they can subtly influence hormones and enzymes and various other things that the human body produces to actually make the body, aside from any kind of the consciousness that's controlling the body, to make the body want particular things.
Like addictions, sort of.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, since we're on this subject, what do the bad bacteria think of cigarette smoke?
They don't really like that because it also affects them negatively.
It kills everything, the good and the bad?
Yeah. Yeah. That's not so good.
Okay.
And plus, also, they're saying that people who smoke a lot, they actually don't really have an appetite. So good and bad gut bacteria, right? They need people to eat. That's what they feed on, what people eat, right? So people who smoke or have any other kind of
like alcohol. Do they like alcohol?
Oh yeah, yes. Oh, that's sugar. Oh
Okay.
yeah, they love that.
When they say you're meaning the bad bacteria right
Yes,
now love sugar.
Yeah.
Okay, bring it on. Bring it on, bad bacteria.
So an addiction that's not related to specifically food, right? But actually suppresses like a human desire to eat food. They're not in favor of that.
Okay.
The bad gut bacteria.
What do they think about fasting? A lot of people are fasting and eating once a day.
No, they don't like that either.
The bad bacteria don't like that.
No, they don't.
What about the good bacteria? Do they like that?
Yeah, they do for some reason.
They really do like that. Okay.
They do because it makes their job a little bit easier somehow.
Do the bad bacteria need to be fed more regularly than the good bacteria?
Okay, the good bacteria seem to think so.
Oh, interesting.
And the bad bacteria are saying, well, we just eat all the time.
That sounds like me. Eat all the time.
We don't like it if there's nothing there to eat.
Oh, so the fasting can really help clean out your bacteria. I have a question for the good bacteria that's a little different. Are there a lot of different kinds in the gut in your world?
Yes. They're saying yes. There are specialists. There's bacteria that specialize in like animal type of foods.
Like meat.
Fresh animal foods, right? I mean, we're talking now about all kinds of foods that the good bacteria would like to eat, right? So yeah, there are specialists for that. There's specialists for vegetables. There's specialists for fruits. There's specialists for
Fish or...
yeah. I mean, they're saying they actually get to be quite specialized.
Okay, so if you are eating a lot of meat, then do you not have enough specialists to just quickly move to eating a lot of vegetables?
Oh no. I mean,
Or vice versa?
you will, okay, it seems like they're saying there's specialists of every kind, right? And depending on what the human that a particular world is in eats, the specialists of of a certain specialty will grow more, and so that's how they deal with it. So if this person is eating less animal and less plant food, they will have less of the specialist plant good bacteria. But that doesn't mean they don't have any. And if they start eating more of that, just those specialists will grow. That's
Okay,
all.
interesting. And about how many different specialists are in the gut, like to make a healthy gut? Is there like a rough number, or is it too hard of a question?
I don't know. It's like, I mean, they have not really counted themselves. And I mean, I was initially going to say hundreds, but I don't know if that's accurate.
So is the bacteria in the gut, does that ever communicate with other bacteria in other organs?
Interesting.
Like the pancreas or the tonsils or the colon?
Yeah, there are cousins.
Cousins. Nice.
They're all relatives. Okay.
And do they ever move back and forth, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the ones, okay, so you got the specialized gut bacteria, right? And then organs and various other areas of your body, you know, your blood, your brain matter, whatever. I mean, they've got their own further specialized bacteria. So they can't move back and forth.
Okay, so gut bacteria never goes to the brain to visit their cousins.
They may go to visit, but they can't really do anything,
Oh, I see.
you know.
So what is the connection between a healthy gut bacteria and a healthy brain bacteria?
Well, they both have to make sure that they're feeding themselves the right things that they.
What feeds a brain bacteria?
Oh, okay. Same kinds of things that the gut bacteria eat. Actually.
Okay, so the...
Oh, okay. But it's actually so like the gut bacteria have broken down everything that's in the gut. So the nutrients then are used by these other bacteria.
Okay. All right. Well, that totally makes sense. So if they don't have enough nutrients, then the other bacteria won't have enough to eat.
Right.
Or conversely, if the bad bacteria are making most of, what do they make when they eat their refined foods? Do they make toxic nutrients or do they not provide any food at all for the brain bacteria?
Oh, I think they do both, right? They've got like toxic things anti-nutrients, right? That are toxic, and then also because they're anti-nutrients, there's no nutrients, right? So there's toxins and no nutrients.
Interesting. No nutrients. So your brain bacteria could be eating no nutrient bacteria or no nutrients.
I mean, they could have no nutrients, and they could have toxins.
Okay.
Which are the anti-nutrients.
Okay. So
yeah, sorry, I was a little bit confused there. Or it sounded confusing.
Yeah, it's kind of a confusing conversation. Wow, that's interesting. So
and also it's like, ooh, the bad bacteria, yeah, they cause real havoc, right?
But define havoc.
Meaning, so like, you know, we're talking about the brain, right? And so it's like they're saying, whoa, yeah, we can make you get Alzheimer's.
They are evil.
I know, they're really nasty.
Interesting stuff here. It's a little different way of looking at all these bacterias, but
what we want to do is we want to keep on having, you know, good conversations and sending good energy to the good gut bacteria.
And good energy means good food.
Yes, exactly. Right?
And so the emotions play a big role, like stress. It feeds somehow, restricts the bacteria or feeds the bacteria.
Well, it causes your body to send out various kinds of hormones that interact negatively.
With the good bacteria.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we should be talking to our good bacteria on a regular basis.
Yes, on a regular basis, keeping them happy, keeping them very happy.
Feeding them well, saying nice things to them. Like,
Yeah.
thank you for being in my gut. Thank you for processing my foods.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
And making sure we eat delicious meals.
Right.
Right, well, I mean, whatever you choose to eat.
Well, beyond delicious, it has to be nutritious.
Well, no.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Whatever you choose to eat. I mean, you could be vegetarian, vegan, carnivore,
Pescatarian.
pescatarian, and whatever you choose to eat. I mean, it has to be food that the good bacteria like. And in order to keep yourself happy and them happy, right? Because they want you to eat more food. Not to the extent where you actually get fat. That's not good, right? So they're saying, please make your meals delicious and healthy. And we're saying delicious because if you eat something that tastes good, you're not going to overeat.
I feel like that's the opposite for me. If it tastes good, I'll eat twice as much. But
This is what they're saying,
Okay, interesting. I feel like everybody loves tasty food, but I'm wondering if, like, when I think of tasty food, my mouth starts to salivate and more enzymes go in, and it helps the whole breakdown process, theoretically.
Right, exactly.
So it almost like the food's easier for the bacteria to digest.
Yeah, it makes their work easier. That's why they're saying eat delicious food.
So is there any benefit to listening to you? I'm talking to the bacteria, the good bacteria right now, as far as looking at this ability of one's consciousness to be more receptive to a multidimensional realm or a expansive situation. I mean,
They're asking you how it applies to them.
well, it seems like right now we're talking to a lot of multidimensional beings, and we're talking to a lot of them about, greater understandings, which require an expansion in our consciousness. And how do they affect that? Like, what is their role in helping us expand our consciousness?
The gut bacteria.
Yeah.
Ah, I see. Okay. Well, they're saying if you can actually communicate with us, these small little organisms, okay, that could be as small as one cell. You probably will be able to communicate with anything, any kind of multidimensional being. So in their world, it's like, I was going to say in their minds, they do have minds, They are contributing to our expansion and their expansion also by they themselves are multidimensional beings.
Oh, very interesting. So I have read that bacteria were some of the very first animals to exist in what we call planet Earth. Do they have any information about that? Because it seems like they would have been around, if they've been around since the very, very beginning, that they actually are probably in some ways the most evolved.
The most evolved animal. Well, no.
Not necessarily the most complex animal or more intricate, but they must have some kind of knowledge since they've been there from the beginning. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they're just there supporting since the beginning.
Okay. They're saying that somehow theirs has always been sort of like symbiotic relationships. They can't really exist on their own. And they believe it was like that in the beginning too. So, they don't really have such a, big collective knowledge base. It goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. They kind of like know what's happened to them in the past 100 years or so. So they're just kind of like guessing at what was in the past. But they're saying that, they've always been symbiotic. So basically they cannot exist on their own.
All right, so they've always had a host. So somewhere along the line, them being just first and being a bacteria on its own is probably not exactly true.
I mean, they could have been, not exactly true. Right?
There's
exactly.
more. There's more to the story that can they shed light on the rest of the story, or
like I said, I don't think their collective memory doesn't go back so far.
Okay. Is there any kind of final message that they might have for us?
They're saying, eat healthy, be happy. Help us fight the bad bugs. That's what they're saying.
Okay. All right. Thank you for
not the bed bugs, but the bad bugs.
Thank you for speaking up, bacteria, the world of bacteria in my gut and Dinah's gut and everybody's gut. That was very interesting.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay, they're saying bye.
Bye.
Glad to have helped.
That's all for this episode of the 1 to 9 podcast. Thank you for listening, and please sign up for our newsletter at 1to9podcast.com.